What's up? Welcome back to the Grumpy Grizz stream. If you are new here, the idea of these streams are to go through each state and kind of research and categorize each cryptid. The purpose for this is to build a book called the Cryptid Codex. And this book is going to be designed to create the foreground of a game and an actual book. I'm Jonathan Hansel, and I'm studying computer science and game development. And my big goal. Ah, I just realized my phone's audio was on. My big goal is to create my own game studio called Chimera. The analogy is that the lion, the goat, and the snake are all a part of one body, but they are all each so powerful that they are as if they're separate beings but one entity. And so I want to be so interconnected with my team and so interconnected with the players that it's as if we are one formidable entity. So the more that you guys are here, the more people that watch, the better these are going to be. The better games will be, the better understanding I'll have of you. I came into the gaming world kind of late because I grew up on an internetless farm. And so I'm coming in late, but I fell in love with the idea of making my own video games. So I want to get to know you guys. I want to know your opinions. Big game studios don't care very much anymore. There's only a few that do. I want to turn that around. I want to break that stereotype. So if you want to be here and be a part of this, I'd love for you to be here. Our next big goal is to get some better lighting for the stream. We've already got our camera within, I think, the first stream of announcing it. That was a big thanks to Rakuah, who's actually here today. She's a part of the stream. Rakuah, say hi!
What's up, everybody? How we doing?
She is currently studying in the college, and she's actually about to graduate. Rakuah, you want to give us a little rundown on what you're studying?
Yeah, so I am actually studying in zoology. That is my major, and then I minor in fisheries and wildlife. I have been in college about 5 years now, and this was the last semester for me. So I'm very excited for this new opportunity, and I thank you for allowing me to be a co-host on here. So.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do one real quick. Well, sorry about that. Whoopsies. We got the intro video to do, so I will catch you guys after the video. It's not working for some reason. Do the thing. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. I just realized I was still muted. Still trying to get the hang of this whole stream thing. Again, grew up internetless farm boy. Anyways, huge thank you to the Belief Hole and Dark Mountain Ambience for allowing me to use your ambiance videos in the background of my videos. Guys, if you've been here before and you've watched my streams, you know how much I love the Belief Hole. These guys are awesome, very down to earth, very genuine people. They are so good at research. Uh, it's fantastic. Go watch their stuff. Go listen to their streams. They're fantastic. Go check them out. Another big thank you is to This one goes to my brother, Aaron. He owns a studio for cinematography called Fireside Video. Man, y'all, he's awesome. Fireside Video is a fast, high quality, and affordable video production company with cinema grade equipment and a personalized approach, ensuring that your brand story is told in the most compelling and cost effective way possible. His portfolio is epic, you guys. He has worked with St. Paul's Community School, Putnam City High School, the NHL, retiring of the Chicago Blackhawk helicopter. That was an awesome scenario he got to work with. He's worked a lot with the tribes because he and I are Chickasaw Choctaw. Go check him out, please. He's awesome. He's one of the best, most humble guys you will ever meet, and he only ever puts out high quality work. He used to work as a security guard for a while, but quit to pursue his dream in cinematography. He's honestly one of my greatest inspirations for pursuing my dream career. So please go check him out and support him as much as you can. And as of now, he will be offering video transfer services, which means he can take your old home videos that are in like 8mm, Super 8mm, and even VHS into digital, DVD, or Blu-ray. So go check him out, you guys. He's awesome. He's been one of the most helpful people to me. He's honestly been a huge inspiration for me. I know I'm the younger brother and I'm biased, but for real, go check him out. He's awesome. So, back to the nitty gritty. What we're doing here with Rakuah, I invited Rakuah to be a part of these streams because she is studying zoology. She's studying a lot of this stuff that we're kind of going over. And if you watched the Alabama stream, if you haven't, go back and watch it. Anyways, you guys know that there was a lot of times when I had no idea what I was talking about because it was animal based. And so, Rakuah, this is right up your alley, especially where we're about to be in Alaska. You used to live in Alaska, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I lived there for about 5 years, and I first moved there when I was 3. And reason being is because my dad was military, so we traveled around quite a lot. So
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so our goal is to go through this list of cryptids and stories that I found about Alaska, and we are going to categorize them into possible animal, proven but extinct, demonic, spiritual, interdimensional, or alien. Uh, so it's going to be a wild ride, but I think it's going to be fun. And so the one that we are starting with is the Uriuli. But first, I'm going to give a quick intro to early Alaska. Forgive me, allergies are kicking in, so. Okay. The first human beings arrived in Alaska in about 13,000 BC. At that time, Alaska was part of a land bridge that extended across to Siberia. People followed the herds of animals they hunted. Europeans arrived in the area in the 18th century, aka British people, the worst. In 1741, a Dane called Vitus Bering led a Russian expedition to Alaska. They discovered there was a great wealth in Alaska in the form of animal furs. Unfortunately, they also brought diseases to which the native people had no immunity. The British arrived in 1778, called it, when Captain Cook sailed there. Cook Inlet is named after him. George Vancouver sailed to Alaska in 1794. Meanwhile, in 1772, the Russians made a settlement in Unalaska. Then, in 1784, they made a settlement on Kodiak Island. However, by the 1860s, the Russian Empire had lost interest in Alaska. Overhunting had depleted the supply of furs, and it was difficult to supply bases such a long way off. They decided to try and sell Alaska to the Americans. That's us. In 1867, the U.S. Secretary of State William Henry Seward signed a treaty to buy Alaska for $7.2 million, less than 2 cents an acre. However, it took 6 months to persuade Congress to ratify the treaty. Alaska formally passed to the U.S. on the 18th of October, 1867. If y'all want to learn more about Alaska, well, I didn't do that much research. So, the Uri-Uli, also known as the Hairy Man. All right, Rakuah, you want to read over this one?
Yeah, I can read over it.
All right, just the wiki one.
Okay, cool. So the Uri-Uli, or Hairy Man, as translated from most native Yupik languages, are a race similar to Bigfoot or Yeti, of creatures that live in the woodland areas of the southwestern Alaska. Stories of the Uri-Uli, my goodness, describe them as standing 10 feet tall with long shaggy fur and luminescent eyes. They are said to emit a high-pitched cry resembling that of a loon. Interesting. Their long, lanky arms have been described as reaching down to their ankles, rumored to live in the forest near the area of Lake Iliamna, I'm assuming.
It's either,
The Uri-Uli.
I think it is Iliamna.
Okay, cool.
I couldn't tell if it was Iliamna or Liamna.
Listen, I study a lot of Latin languages, but I will never pronounce things.
Well, these are Native American words. These are harder.
The Uri-Uli are said to be peaceful creatures, unlike the Kushtaka of southeastern Alaska. It is said that the Uri-Uli are transformed children who become lost in the woods at night. It is possible that this tale was started to keep children indoors at night. Interesting.
There we go. You're going to find, after reading a lot of these, that a lot of these stories are supposedly written to keep children in at night. But, like,
right.
I don't know. So many deniers, I guess you could say, outright deniers, they'll just completely outright any fantastical story as, like, oh, that was just to keep the kids inside, you know? It's like, I don't know. Why are we still hearing stories about it today?
Right.
Some things definitely were those stories, but it just cracks me up that that's like a lot of people's immediate answer. Granted, it makes sense, but still. So, just after this description, what are you picturing? Like just another Bigfoot, basically?
I could see that. Perhaps more of a description, I guess you can say. It kind of depends on, long shaggy fur, luminescent eyes, high pitched cry resembling that of a loon. That one's a little bit out there. Long lanky arms have been described as reaching down to their ankles. So Bigfoot's anatomy, it seems to be a little bit off of that, but there's a possibility that it could be something related. But I don't know. The resembling of a loon cry is what's really getting me, I would say.
Okay. Why is it? Why is that the thing that gets you?
Well, how would you describe a Bigfoot cry?
So, a lot of times I feel like they would describe it. People describe it as either like intimidatingly deep, or I've heard some recordings that they're like, oh, it's super high pitched, and I don't know. I find that interesting. I mean, I hear different stories, but the majority it's like guttural and almost human. Uh, I think there's only been one or two stories I've heard where it's like actually high pitched. It's interesting that they say specifically high pitched.
Yeah, I think that there could be a vocal range for sure. Perhaps, I don't know, they do resemble somewhat of humans, so perhaps they have the similar vocalization as humans and they have a louder or a higher pitched cry whenever they are younger, or there could be a lot of different things. There's also the possibility that this also could be something of what of a subspecies of that. Um, so there's a lot of different ideas that I can really think of. There's such a small amount of things that I would say that I can go off of.
Yeah. Okay. We've got a story here about the hairy man.
Um,
So let's get
okay.
to it real quick. Let's see. The hairy man of Alaska. Far northwest of Kootenai County and the Agassiz Harrison Valley, the hairy man, as he is sometimes called, has appeared to natives of the American state of Alaska. One such native was a middle aged Aleut named Ted Anguson, who hailed from Bristol Bay, not far from the Aleutian Islands. In 1985, while on a commercial flight from Kulukak Bay, near Alaska's southwestern end to the easterly community of Dillingham, Anguson spotted an unusual figure standing in the bush outside the village of Manakotak. There was this giant thing in the trees, he told Bill Sherwinett, what? That was hard to say. A nature writer from Anchorage, Alaska. He looked
That
like
is actually
not
where
quite
that was actually where I was living. I kid you not.
Anchorage.
Anchorage, Alaska. Yep, that was actually where I lived
Ooh,
at.
you could have met Bill
Yeah.
Sherwinett.
When was this?
1985.
1985? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna take
Sure.
that one back. Okay. Uh, anyways, he looked like not
Continue.
quite like a gorilla, but dark and full of hair. I'd say from the trees around him, he's between 7 and 10 feet tall. He was looking at us, watching us fly by. He didn't seem bothered at all, but he was a hairy man, all right. Okay. Instead of making his sightings known, Anguson decided to remain quiet. I didn't want the pilot. I didn't want the pilot to go down there and scare the daylights out of him, he said. I figured it would just make the thing go crazy, so I kept it to myself. But he exists, the hairy man, and he looks exactly like he's called. Most of Alaska's native groups include some version of hairy man in their worlds. Oh wait, that was Bill Sherwinett. Wrote Bill Sherwinett in an article in the October 1995 issue of the magazine Alaska. For some, the hairy man is gentle. For others, menacing. But whether dangerous or harmless, human or ape like, the creature most often seems to be dark haired, larger than people, reclusive, solitary, nocturnal, and a forest or mountain dweller. It doesn't speak, but it may scream, whistle, or imitate animal sounds. So, Rakuah, why would an animal imitate other animal sounds? Is that usually a hunting tactic, or what would be, or would you know?
So I'll give you an example. Birds actually do it quite often. Blue jays actually do it. They will actually imitate kind of like hawk or predator sounds. But they do that to kind of scare away any other animal actually.
Hmm.
A lot of times they will do that to see if there is also a hawk nearby or a predator nearby. So then they are aware of what's going on because, you know, a lot of times if one animal makes a sound, they're going to communicate back and forth with each other. So a lot of times they'll do that to listen and hear if there's also another type of um, creature nearby. Um, but it all depends on what their goal is, to see if there is another hawk nearby or if they want a territory, and so they imitate that sound, and then they will kind of like clear off some other birds, I guess you can say. Or like crows. Crows can make a lot of different sounds. And so
Mhm.
it all kind of just depends on what they really want. They either want to claim a territory, or a lot of times they'll just do it to try and scare other things off.
Okay. Well, we got a couple of other sightings and stories here. Let's go over them real quick, and then that might be able to give us some insight on, is the creature aggressive or passive, or just kind of wants to be left alone, like the average Bigfoot story.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. One hairy man was purportedly sighted near Lake Iliamna. I think you're right. I think it is Iliamna,
Yeah. Sounds
east
like
of
it.
Bristol Bay, in October 1957. One night, when the village was asleep, 17-year-old Myrtle Anlin watched her family's cat scamper up a ladder onto the roof. Shortly thereafter, she heard a crash, which sounded as if something fell through the ladder and through her mother's bedroom window. Myrtle and her two brothers investigated the commotion and found several tracks outside. These footprints were purportedly really huge, but narrow, with big toes. I think they misspelled toes, but that's okay.
Yes, I think so.
Maybe it's a pronunciation thing. Big toes.
Yeah, it kind of psychs me out because the voice that you do is very southern, and it's Alaska.
Yeah, yeah. I probably shouldn't do a southern accent. What does a Alaskan accent sound like? Can you do it?
You know what? That is a good question. That I lived there for 5 years, but I honestly could not give you one.
Okay, then don't question my accents.
Okay, okay. You do whatever accent you want, Chris. By all means.
The last stream was Alabama, and I think my mind is still in that mindset.
Oh,
So next
that
time
makes
I'll do better research on my accents before I start assuming. I'm sorry. Okay. Let's see. Later that night, the family's dogs began to bark. Mom tells the boys to take a bright flashlight. Annalon told Sherwin it and shine it where the dogs are looking. When they did, they saw two real hairy things. They thought it was two bears standing on their hind legs. They come running in saying, "Give me a gun, a knife, anything." But my mom says, "Don't kill anything. You don't know what they are. They might be human." The boys go back out and don't shoot. But they start chasing those things all over the place. They said the things ran like humans, not bears, but were full of hair and fast. They came around 3 nights in a row, even looked in our windows. Mom said they were probably wild people, and if we don't harm them, they won't harm us. So we never bothered them anymore, and they kind of quit coming around. I never saw them, but my brothers did. That is a horrifying story.
yeah. Looking in our windows is that one's.
Yeah. What else is freaky is that these boys are freaking brave, because they said they
Yeah.
asked for weapons. Mom said no. They went back outside and chased them, even though they looked like bears.
Yeah.
Golly. All right. Looks like
Yeah.
there's a couple more paragraphs here. 2 decades later, the mid 1970s, the hairy man appeared once again in the wilderness outside Lake Iliamna. According to bush pilot Trig Olsen, the thing was supposed to be as large as a moose standing on its hind legs. A native named Jim Coffey reportedly shot the animal, which ran off into the bush. When he examined the spot at which the creature had been shot, he found the snow stained by a red liquid resembling transmission fluid. Weird. Over the years, several theories have been proposed as to the nature of Alaska's hairy man. Some suggested that they were feral humans who had metamorphosed in the wild. In the same way that domestic pigs, bereft of they're making words up, of human care grow coarse. What?
Okay. I'll explain metamorphosed. So, metamorphosis is basically a transition. So, you know how there are tadpoles that metamorphosize basically. So they go from tadpoles into frogs. They go from water into onto land, and they're semi-aquatic and they can be fully aquatic and everything like that. So metamorphosis is basically the process of transitioning into another kind of like metamorphosis for frogs or from tadpoles to frogs is they lose their tail, they gain more like hind legs and like actual like that kind of stuff. If that makes
would you
sense,
say
it's just that
it does make
transition.
sense? Yeah, it does make sense. Would you say that it resembles like adaptation? Because like for
Yeah.
a frog, going from tadpole to frog is the natural process, but human into wild man is not like our natural process, you know?
Right, exactly. So one thing about frogs or tadpoles and stuff like that, amphibians, and to be specific, amphibians, is that not all of them basically choose to metamorphose, and so I think that plays a part in it as well. So
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, let's see. I think I might have started reading this one sentence out of context and it made even less sense. So I'm gonna start at the beginning
uh,
of this comma.
okay,
In the same way that domestic pigs, bereft of human care, grow coarse bristles and sharp tusks in response to nature's demands. Through the years, mused Shirley Nelson, a lifelong resident of Lake Iliamna, we've had people just disappear with absolutely no trace. The thought is that these people have gone back to the wild, but who knows? Other northerners have suggested that hairy men abduct lone travelers and transform them into creatures like themselves, while others still have proposed that Alaska's wild man constitutes a species of undiscovered primate straddling the border between man and beast. I have no ideas what stories are behind it, concluded Ted Anguson, echoing the thoughts of many northerners, both Indian and white. All I know is that hairy man exists. Ooh, that's cool. Okay, so I've got a world map here.
okay,
Lake Iliamna is right over here. Looks like it's kind of like tucked away. I'm not seeing very many like civilizations. There's only a few. Coconut.
it looks like your screen is not showing the map online.
Oh, it's not?
No, all I see is from script to screen.
Okay. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Let's. Right. No, not that one. Okay. Is this better?
Let me see. Hold on. Did you cancel it and then like make a new one?
Yes. I think so.
Watch. Right. There we go. Yep, I got
Is
it
that
now.
working?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, cool. All right, so Lake Iliamna is kind of just tucked away. Looks like there's only a few places around, but pretty big. People are saying that it's just in the northern area of Lake Iliamna. So, about up here, looks like there's a town called Iliamna
Hmm.
and an airport. Cool, cool. So yeah, if you viewers out there are anywhere in this area, go ahead and go up to that forest by yourself without weapons and a camera and just let us know what's up there, you know?
I would not. I would not advise that.
Well, this lady said not to hurt them. Otherwise, they'll kill back, I guess. They never said what would happen. Just saying. That's what it
The definition of mess around and find out.
For real. All right. Onward. Forward to the Kushtaka. All right. I'll read over this one if you want to read. What the? That was weird. My tablet just started playing music. I don't like that. Okay. I'm gonna read the wiki of the Kushtaka. If you will read
Okay.
the Only in Alaska article. Um,
Okay.
let's see. Let's see. Yeah. So whenever you read, start at the paragraph. The Tlingit believe that some otters are actually shapeshifters.
Believe. Oh, okay. I see.
Okay. So I'm gonna read the wiki real quick. Okay. Kushta Ka or Kushtaka are mythical shape-shifting creatures found in the folklore of the Tlingit peoples of the Pacific Northwest coast of North America. Hold on, I just remembered something. We need to categorize the hairy man.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna
skipped
say you
ahead.
kind of went straight into the other one. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, sorry about that. So, hairy man. Do we feel he's aggressive, passive? What are you thinking?
I don't think he's aggressive, but I feel like it could be. Mm, kind of depends on the territory, I guess you could say. Because
Okay.
a lot of animals can get aggressive whenever you go into their territory. Um, so there's that always that possibility. But I think the story with them being around the home is, it shows that they're not aggressive. Oh, one thing I did find interesting though is in the Wikipedia article, it talks about the hairy man, but it says it had fur. Fur is completely different than hair.
Ooh,
Like
I
dogs
didn't
and
guess
stuff
that.
like that have fur. And so then, but it's literally called the hairy man. Hair, I mean, this could change a lot because it could be like, hair grows a lot. And so, like, is their hair like growing to the point where it's like on the ground or something like that? Or something? I'm not sure, but
Yeah,
I thought that was
and
interesting.
I think that is an interesting catch. I didn't catch that. I think Hairy Man might just be like a name because it sounds like they have more characteristics of a man than an animal, and so
Yeah, yeah.
like
And
that.
in the story, they referred their hair as hair and not fur. So there was that
Oh,
little contradiction. But from what the story says, it said hair. So I'm assuming that it may be a lot longer of hair than what we're thinking.
that's a good point. So let's see. I feel like I need to add another category here. We're gonna add one more category and call it Lost Man. because like these other ones categorize animals and or spiritual things, but some of these sound like people just believe in wild people, and so if that's the case, we'll have a category called Lost Man.
Okay.
So I feel like this one falls under Lost Man. I don't. What do you think? Do you think this is more animalistic or more humanoid?
From the sounds of it, I would say probably more humanoid. Um,
Okay.
just based off of the characteristics and uh, the hair and stuff like that. I feel like it's more humanoid based off of that.
Okay. So you're saying it's animalistic, but it just appears human or humanoid?
Yeah, yeah. I would say like that because it's almost, I don't want to say ape like, but in my point of view, it is kind of like that. It's almost like a mixture between like caveman and ape and whatever.
Yeah,
It could be a
that's what
lot
I
of
was
different
thinking.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my mind was kind of leaning towards Wild Man, uh,
Yeah.
but there is a lot there that I don't know. I don't know. I would lean towards human because it seemed very curious of other humans and human creations. But like apes are the same way too. So I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah,
I'm probably
it's
gonna
kind
go.
of a, yeah, it's kind of like right in the middle almost.
Hmm.
It's weird.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with you and say it's animalistic. So it
Yeah.
is now categorized as a non-aggressive possible animal.
Yeah.
All right. So to the kushtaka. Also, I forgot I had like music to play in the background while we're reading.
Oh,
Shout out to Epidemic Sound for their royalty-free, non-copyrighted music. They're fantastic. They do require a subscription, but it's not too expensive. So go check them out if you get a chance, guys. So let's see if I can do this. All right, I think the audio is coming in for the audience. So they, being the Kushtaka, are similar to the Watsa of the Tsimshian people, which we've all heard of. I mean, Natina of the Denaina. Also, I mean, Mike and I mean Rakuah and I were just talking about that, a few days ago. So, and Native Alaskans of South Central Alaska, and the Uriuli of the Yupik in Western Alaska. We just talked about them, so we know one of these. Let's go. All right. Physically, Kushta Ka are shapeshifters, capable of assuming human form, the form of an otter, and potentially other forms. In some accounts, a Kushta Ka is able to assume the form of any species of otter, in others, only one. Accounts of their behavior seem to conflict with one another. In some stories, Kushta Ka are cruel creatures who take delight in tricking poor Tlingit sailors to their deaths. In others, they are friendly and helpful, frequently saving the lost from death by freezing. In many stories, the Kushtaka save the lost individuals by distracting them with curiously otter-like illusions of their family and friends as they transform their subject into a fellow Kushtaka, thus allowing them to survive in the cult. Naturally, this is counted a mixed blessing. However, Kushtaka legends are not always pleasant. In some legends, it is said the Kushtaka will imitate the cries of a baby or the screams of a woman to lure victims to the river. Once there, the Kushtaka either kills the person and tears them to shreds, or will turn them into another Kushtaka. Legends have it, Kushtaka can be warded off through copper, urine, dogs, and in some stories, fire. Since the Kushtaka mainly preys on small children, it has been thought by some that it was used by Tlingit mothers to keep their children from wandering close to the ocean by themselves. But we know better. They're probably real. They're probably out there right now. It is also said that the Kushtaka emit a high-pitched, three-part whistle in the pattern of low-high-low. Interesting. So,
That is interesting.
yeah, right off the bat, these things are kind of giving off almost spiritual vibes.
Yeah.
Real. Just they almost sound like just tricksters.
It almost gives off like siren vibes, but in like a way where it's like they don't sing, but they like imitate different things to lure like their victims.
Right.
So it's kind of like that almost.
Apologies. For some reason, my tablet stopped streaming to the projector.
Oh.
Rude. Is that gonna fix it? You doing the thing? Well, Rakuah, go ahead and read the next paragraph while I'm fiddling.
Okay, do you have a stopping point for me?
I think if you'll just read it out, I think that's about
Okay.
how there is. I'll let you know if there's like somewhere we need to stop or something.
Okay.
Also, just a heads up, if you see any words involving personal unaliving or non-consensual activity, just skip over the words. We're not going to read them.
Okay.
YouTube
Okay.
does not like that.
I'm reading. I don't want to accidentally just completely just say something.
No worries.
You said...
Worst case scenario, they take down the live stream, but I cut the live stream to a video for later, so...
You said what topics again? I'm sorry.
Where you start? Or the topics?
No, what topics to skip over?
Personal unaliving or non-consensual activity.
Okay. I got you. Okay. So the Tlingit believe that some otters are actually shapeshifters that look like men. These creatures have an evil purpose to trap their victims' souls and prevent them from reincarnating. It certainly wouldn't be the first time a cute face has been used to ensnare victims.
Felt.
Let me see here. Yeah. These shape-shifting otters are called kushtaka or kushtaka. There's not really much of a difference there.
No, what I think they didn't do in the wiki, there's a space between kushta.
Yeah.
So I think there's supposed to be like a different pronunciation. So like kushtaka and then kushtaka.
Kushtaka. Okay.
Is what it looks like. I could be completely making this up, but it doesn't matter because it's my stream.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. You don't like the way I pronounce things? You start a stream.
Yeah. Okay. The legend goes like this. As you're walking through your village or hunting in woods or fishing in the sea, a man or group of men approach you. These men look just like kinsmen, and you don't have a clue that they are really the Kushtaka. In some cases, these malevolent. Oh my gosh, I have never. Okay, malevolent.
Basically, malevolent just means like cruel or ill-purposed individual.
Okay.
For
Yeah,
you,
you
for you
see,
Star
I
Wars nerds out there, General Grievous's flagship is called the Malevolence.
there you go. That's why you know it.
Yeah, that's the
I was
only
gonna
reason
say
I know
I'm in
that word.
college and I'm over here like I'm in college and I don't even know that word. These malevolent creatures appear when you're lost or injured and claim that they intend to rescue you. However, they lead you deeper into the wilderness and either tear you into pieces or turn you into a kushtaka, which which prevents your soul from being able to reincarnate. Pretty terrifying. You definitely don't want to come across a kushtaka in Alaska at night. We can see where some trust issues might develop from this legend. Yeah, yeah. I could see a little bit of a little spiritual.
Yeah. So, for those of you that are kind of new to the stream, uh, I make it pretty apparent that I'm a Christian and that I have biblical beliefs. But we're taking this from the Alaskan natives' perspective. And it sounds like they heavily believe in reincarnation. So, my kind of question would be, if something can't be reincarnated, what does that mean? Does it mean when they die it's just the end, black emptiness? Or I'm interested in this. I don't know. I genuinely just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Because I follow in the same beliefs as you. And so it's something that's not that I haven't really studied in. I'm always interested in like learning about different things. But I haven't really talked to someone that believes in reincarnation a lot. So
Yeah, I'd be open to hear whatever. I'm always
absolutely.
interested. So, with this, which do you think is worse? Being shredded or turned into a kushtaka?
I ooh,
Because it
um
sounds like if you're shredded, let's see, they lead you deeper into the world station. Chaka. Uh, sounds like being torn to pieces, you at least still get reincarnated.
yeah, the that was an interesting one because it goes off of like the mentality of the kushtaka. Like for me, I probably would rather be shredded because I don't want to make other people like miserable in their lives. I don't want to be the cause of dragging other people to their death,
Yeah,
basically. Um, yeah, I don't know how that mentality would change after that. But
yeah,
obviously, Kushtaka, like that's their moral goal is that they bring people to that to either tear them apart or basically make them into themselves. So personally, I'd probably take the tear me to shreds route.
I mean, that's fair. Just real quick, we got Chasm in the chat. He said literally learned the word from Clone Wars back in 2008. Yeah, that's the same place I learned the word malevolent. Yeah, same place as me, dude. Heck yeah. All right. Rakuah, go ahead and pick up on the next paragraph.
Okay. Groups of Kushtaka are especially dangerous. They might lure you towards them by screaming or making noises that sound like women or children in distress. But once they see you coming, you'll never escape. This could be an ad for the buddy system. Travel with someone else, and you're likely to need help from a group of strangers and eventually sinister men. Um, the very cuteness of. I just had some.
Do it.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I had some audio issues. My AirPods did not charge all the way, and so I'm
Oh,
switching them now.
okay, no worries.
Okay. The very cuteness of otters is what makes the Alaska Kushtaka so dangerous, according to the Tlingit people. Because we're so drawn to their playful nature, it is easy to miss the fact that these shapeshifters really want to consume your soul and condemn us to spend eternity wandering the frozen tundra. Luckily, there is one safeguard against Kushtaka capture. Alaska's second cutest animal is one that's plentiful around the region: dogs. Man's best friend saves us again, this time from evil spirits and an eternity without afterlife. It's a cute dog.
That's a cute dog. That's a good looking dog right there. Look at that face.
I'm surprised it's not a husky. Well, is it a mix? Maybe. Okay.
I'm not sure.
Uh, do what?
I was just saying, I don't know.
Yeah, now I'm interested.
Hmm.
The Kushtaka are supposedly terrified of dogs. Luckily, Alaska has plentiful of furry, fearsome sled dogs to keep its villages safe from harm. It's said that fire might be another effective way to keep the shape shifting otters away. Alaskan mothers are fond of this legend and tell it to their children to keep them from wandering too far from home. Have you ever heard of the spine tingling tale? What do you think? Is the Alaska Kushtaka real? Did your parents ever use spine chilling legends to keep you from wandering too far from home and safety? And then it goes into here are seven more creepy Alaskan legends.
Interesting. All right. So that kind of leads into the question. Um, what do you think? Like, do you think this is uh, an animal? Do you think this is a spiritual thing? Because it's got a kind of a creepy aspect to it. Because it's got such specifications that, like, if somebody was making this up, they're going really into detail, especially about things like uh, its deterrence. Like how they were saying um, in the wiki, how it says it can be warded off through copper, urine, dogs, and sometimes fire. So, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts on this thing?
So my thoughts, I don't know if can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I had to step away from my computer for a second.
You're good.
So my thoughts would probably be that oh, I it sounds a little bit more spiritual. Only reason I say it is because there's not a whole lot of stories, like specific stories. It sounds more like a intense wise tale almost. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not sure. Based off of like what they're afraid of is dogs and stuff like that. Urine is actually a common thing that things are afraid of because it's actually like a smell type thing. Because it's marking territory basically.
Right.
So a lot of animals don't personally like that, obviously. But I don't know. I might have to say spiritual based, but it's just because there's not really a whole lot of like in detail stories. It's more just like based off of everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. I'm wondering if there's more stories elsewhere, and we only found like the one. So you're kind of leaning towards spiritual, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay. All right. I think I would
I'm
probably
not
go the
sure
same
though.
way. Now, what about
Yeah.
like aggression level? Do you think it's aggressive? Do you think it's just curious? Or what are you thinking?
From the way that it's acting, um, it seems that it intentionally to harm humans, obviously. So yeah, I believe that it's an aggressive, but it's not like a very like um how do you explain it? It's not very like in your face kind of aggression. It's more like a secretive kind of aggression.
Yeah.
Um
Do you think
it's more like
it's
a plotting aggression.
okay? Yeah, that makes sense. So you don't think it's like an anger? You think it's a almost predatory thing?
I'm
Like,
wondering, so I don't know if it's a predatory thing. I'm wondering if let's say that it's not like a spiritual or anything like that. Let's say that this thing is like an actual animal. I'm wondering if based off of what they are, um, if human is their actual like diet. If that's their actual
mm,
diet. And so that's why they may lure people over to basically do that. Not sure if it's very it could go a couple of different ways, I would say.
okay. So under the categorization of like relationship, rather than saying like aggressive or non-aggressive, do you think it would just be like upper food chain? Because it definitely sounds like it has
Yeah,
tools to hunt humans.
yeah, it sounds like it definitely knows what it's wanting. It also I'm wondering if like there's other things it specifically hunts because this is just stories based off of like humans. So there's I mean obviously maybe human is not their specific diet, but they may do it because I mean, they may do it because they need more of the kushtaka. They may
Mm,
do it because that's, I mean, who knows? That may be the way that they repopulate or something like that. They
yeah,
literally take
that's what it
in
sounds like.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So
And
then,
so,
uh, just sorry, you continue.
oh, no, 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 you're good. I was basically done.
Okay. So in the just for the sake of theorizing, because they have to replenish their numbers, do you think something hunts Kushtaka?
Say so. I mean, there's always a there's always a bigger fish in the sea. So I would
They live in the
100%
ocean,
believe.
so
Yeah. Yeah. So I could definitely believe that there would be something higher in the food chain or something like that. Something that I've learned is that rather than saying the survival of the fittest, it's the survival of the fitter. And that's specifically because there are a lot of different species out there that, for example, the cheetah. Like the cheetah is, you know, strong competitor and everything like that. They're the fastest land animal. Um, but the thing is that they're endangered. Well,
mm,
that's obviously not the survival of the fittest. And so there's always going to be something that's going to probably and for us, I mean, it's humans. Humans are the ones that actually are the main predators for cheetahs. And so it all depends on like who is fitter in the survival. Let's say that if the Kushtaka, I don't know if they work in groups. I don't know if they work individuals. Maybe if there's some that are individual, like kind of like lone wolves. I feel like that they would obviously have um, a worse chance of survival because there's going to be other predators out there that can take them. So
yeah, that's a that's a cool way to look at it. So for the time being of putting it on paper, I put down uh, upper food chain, but spiritual.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then on the world map, if you guys want to see where it is, it's actually further into Canada. Uh, yeah, the Tlingit Kushtaka. It's in this little. It's almost like a Galapagos, not Galapagos. Um, oh, what's the word? What's the myriad of islands? I forget. I can't think of it right now. But it looks like it's kind of hangs out in this cove area. At least that's what it was saying on the map. Let me see if I can pull it up again. Yeah. In Tlingit proper. Kind of like, looks like a Indian reserve of some kind. So Tlingit is around here. So, if any of you guys watching are from Alaska and you're around this area, don't go to the ocean. Just saying. This is very different than the hairy map. You will die.
If it's spiritual, ooh, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Be afraid of the spiritual. Always. I'm not saying to be in fear, but more so a reverent fear. Like, in the same sense, you wouldn't go up to, like, a tiger and try to pet it. You can be fearful of a tiger, but also just by respecting its space. Okay, so this leads us to the Kikirin. The Kikirin is a large, bald dog spirit in Inuit mythology. From around the area of Baffin Island, it has hair only on its feet, mouth, and the tips of its ears and tail. Its presence will send men and dogs into convulsions, sometimes fatal. However, it is frightened of humans and will run away if an Angakuk sees it. A similar term, also from Inuit mythology, is Keelit, a malevolent earth spirit which also appears as a hairless dog. Interesting. So, there's a dog that is relative to something like this called the Grim. Have you ever heard of the Grim?
I have not.
Okay, so the Grim, I think they also call it the Black Dog or something like that, is supposedly a dog that they say protects cemeteries, but a lot of people have said it stalks cemeteries for people in mourning. So this kind of gives me the same kind of feeling. Let's see. If you want to read the next article, the Puzzle Box Horror Inuit Spirit of Death, the Keelit.
The Keelit. Okay. Okay, what is the Keelit? This creature is an Inuit. Is that what it is? Inuit legend.
Yeah, I believe it's one of the tribes around Alaska.
Okay, yeah, there are a lot of tribal names. Okay, this creature is an Inuit legend, one who hunts people during the winter, but it's not actually a predator in the strictest sense. It's a spirit of the netherworld. The Keelit, the Keelut. Oh, interesting. Okay. The Keelut, also known as the Kikirin. There it is. Kikirin is sometimes referenced as a spirit of death or an evil earth spirit. While it is actually a spirit, it takes the form of somewhat believed to be a true cryptid. To be honest, it's hard to say which is more frightening aspect of this creature. That it's an intense or immense. Uh, I don't know why I struggle with this word. We've already talked about it.
Malevolent.
Malevolent. I think it's just the male part and then volent, and I can't get
So,
it together.
did you ever
Oh
watch
my
the
goodness.
movie Maleficent?
Yes.
Okay, I believe Maleficent derives from the word malevolent.
I could
I
probably,
could be completely
I
wrong.
might mess up again, but I could probably do it.
You can say Mal.
Do what?
You can just say the word Mal.
Mal.
I'm kind of away from the mic. My projector's acting weird, so I turned my camera off while you're reading, and I'm hoping I can fix it. So you keep going.
That's okay. I'm just gonna turn up your voice a little bit.
Okay. Go to
Black
like now.
hair. Okay. Okay. Black hairless dog with the sole purpose of preying upon humans, or that it's also a spirit, so it doesn't necessarily abide by the laws of physics. The Keelut's mythological cousin is the church grim or bar- barguest
Oh,
of Great
Church
Britain.
Grim.
Yeah, you
Called
called
it.
it. Who
That was
stalks
me.
those
I said
traveling
that.
in the night. Do what?
Sorry, I just keep interrupting. I said I called that's what I said. You keep going. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Who stalks those traveling in the night, which results to an untimely death, right? Untimely?
Let
Untimely?
me see.
Untimely death. Untimely death.
Yes,
That's what it is. Okay.
basically murder.
I'm awful with, yeah, I, I'm awful with pronunciations. The major difference between the church grim and the kilut is the fact that the kilut doesn't have any hair except for on its feet. They say that this makes their tracks in the snow disappear easily, which gives the advantage of stalking prey without being noticed. Interesting. Aside from their predatory nature, these creatures have other similarities that transcend the separation of culture. Both are known to act as hair harbinger, right?
Harbinger.
Harbinger of death. Um, the otherwise feast upon the dead. In Inuit folklore, the kilu is known to attack lone travelers. The sight of one would cause orientation, then eventually hypothermia and death. Jeez.
Dicka.
Um, I'm assuming I'm not reading the rest of that.
No, the rest of that is Hold the Dark, bringing Alaskan horror legends to life in a new way, which is probably going to book that I buy
Yeah, it
because that
looks
sounds
good.
awesome. Yeah.
Interesting. I'll have to look
So
at that.
this one is like really leaning back and forth between spiritual and animal. What are you thinking?
It it really is.
So
I don't know. I
with
think
spiritual and animal like properties, that kind of brings in the idea of interdimensional. Uh,
it's true.
just something like just kind of something to keep in the back of your mind while you're about to say something.
Yeah, I honestly feel like a big part of it could be I mean obviously animalistic is a major part of it. It sounds like I don't know much about the Church Grim um, or Bear Guests of Great Britain, um, but sounds like they obviously only show up at certain times, which would probably make them spiritual. Um, that's like at least what I'm taking it as. But there's also quite a lot of different animals that they could be sneaky. I mean, I did a presentation about the Olingito, which, if you don't know what that is, it is actually a species that was discovered um, pretty recently. I think it was 13 years ago. And it was the latest carnivorous species that they had found, and they have not found a carnivorous new species before that for like maybe 30 years. Because it's carnivorous.
Interesting.
I mean, those ones are they're pretty easy to like find and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're ones that
But
actually like leave a lot of evidence that something just killed
yeah,
something.
exactly.
What
What
did you
was
say it was called?
interesting,
Can you say it a little louder?
the Olingito.
Gita. I am intrigued.
Yeah, yeah, they're really cool animals. So basically, they are actually, and I'm gonna pull it up. Olingito.
How does one
Oopsie.
spell Ulingito?
It's going to be Olingito.
Ulingito. Ooh.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna
So
pull it up for
these
everybody to see.
creatures actually they're very fascinating. Um, Fun fact: they are actually in the same family as raccoons, which is
Really?
Procyon. Yeah, they're in the same family as them.
That's cool.
But what was really interesting about them is that they came from basically so with Procyonidae, they are I can't remember how it was. It's Olingito, and then there's another species called Olingita or something like that. Um,
Okay.
Oling- oh my goodness. Basically, there was another species that was just like this. And what happened, it's actually kind of a funny story, is there was a doctor. Honestly, I'm about to just my PowerPoint.
Go for it. Yeah.
Which I know they can't, or I know I'm not going to be able to show my screen on this, but it
We
will.
do need to be a little brief. Uh, I'd say
Yeah.
we're only about a third of the way through the monsters we have.
Okay. Yeah. I'll be quick about this. I'll be quick. Okay. So basically, they are actually related to what is called. Oh, it's just called Olingos. That's what I was trying to. I thought I was gonna make it more complicated. Okay, so there is a species called Olingos, and the zoologist Christopher Helgen in early 2000s actually was counting the number of Olingo species um, from like museum specimens, basically.
Hmm.
Well, during his genetic testing, he actually ended up finding an unknown species, which actually just so happened to be the Olingito.
Oh,
So
that's
for
cool.
years and years in museums, people had been assuming that this Olingito was an Olingo. And actually, what was even more interesting is that they had, or what was it? A zoo actually had an Olingito, and they put them in the Olingo because they look very, very similar. They
Oh
put them
my
in the
gosh.
Olingo, like
Habitat?
habitat. Yes, thank you. The Olingo habitat, and she wouldn't breed with any of the Olingos, and so they thought something was just wrong with her. So this Olingito just jumped from zoo to zoo to zoo, and no one knew that that was actually like a different species.
Yeah.
Um, so, but the point of this is that there are species out there because they didn't find this. He went out to go and see if it actually was in its habitat area from where Olingos thrive in, which is only a very small percentage of um, basically it's like highly humidified air, montane forests, basically. Um, and they went out there and they searched for them. And They took 3 weeks to go and look for them, and they found it within the first week. Actually, it was like just a couple days. They were
Oh,
like,
that's awesome.
"Oh my goodness, like that's absolutely insane." But what I am saying is that there are a lot of species out there that are not discovered, and it's
Yeah.
because they can be sneaky. They don't show up all the time, you know. Some of them, they just have a specific habitat that they thrive in, and they don't go outside of that habitat.
Mhm.
So, also play a major part in that kind of stuff.
So, putting it into this context, it seems like the church grim is probably more spiritual, but this thing,
Mhm.
the keelet, it sounds more animal.
Yeah, I would say it sounds pretty animal to me.
And on the map, it's showing that it's more on like a group of islands between Canada and Greenland in this kind of strange area near the Uitik National Park. Cool. All right, so it sounds like this is our first can confirm possible animal.
Yeah, I could definitely see it as that. Um, yeah, I would say animalistic to me.
And like it might be spiritual, but I almost feel like that's more pushed upon it just because of some like people have had horrible reactions of seeing it. But I almost wonder if that's just because of fear. You know, there's this myth of a dog that's roaming around uh, that is considered to be spiritual, and then a guy has a seizure by looking at it. Like, I don't know. I wonder if that's some defense mechanism we don't know about. Because, like, tigers, their roars, from what I understand, it's like it's at a perfect tune that it messes with some creatures' like spine. And so
Yeah, yeah, no,
I'm, I'm wondering if this has something, you know? Maybe it puts out a scent that like attacks the nervous system or something.
that would be interesting. Yeah.
Cool, cool. More Kikirn. Alright. So, moving on. We have the myth of Galupiluit. Oof. This is gonna be a tough one.
Oh my
This is
goodness.
genuinely one of the. I would probably advocate that this is demonic right off the bat. This one's terrifying.
My gosh. Yeah, just by looking at the photo.
Yeah. Deep within
Straight out of my
Inuit.
nightmares.
Do what?
Straight out of my nightmares.
Yeah. Hey, you lived in the same place as them, so
Oh,
maybe you
don't tell me
saw
that.
one. Just saying. Okay. Deep within Inuit folklore lurked the sinister Katapiluit. I'm gonna say Katapiluit. I feel like Katapiluit says right. Um, Ominous beings that haunt the icy Arctic coastlines, concealed amidst ice floes. These malevolent creatures. Alright, malevolent is the word. If you hear malevolent, just turn this into a drinking game, okay? But, you know, don't get drunk. That's all I'm saying. But you might, considering how many times we've said malevolent. Uh, these malevolent creatures are said to snatch unsuspecting children who dare to venture too close to the treacherous waters, instilling fear in the hearts of those dwelling in the icy realms. This terrifying myth has two functions. Here we go. You ready? It warns children away from the dangerous surroundings and presents a somber image to people who think the Kalapaluit are genuine. There are rumors that these supernatural entities have foretold numerous abductions, leading to a long list of missing children, particularly in the northern regions of Alaska. The Kalapaluit have no beauty. In contrast to the sea's captivating sirens, imagine them with their fingers webbed like monsters from a nightmare, their skin covered in ugly scales, and their long, oily hair falling down to their hideous figures. These frightening creatures instill fear among the Inuit people with their large pouches and intimidating coats referred to as amotics. Freaky. We might need to cut the stories just a little bit short because right now we're close to halfway through and we're already about an hour and 25 minutes on the stream.
Right. Yeah.
I could stream this whole thing, but you've got school. I don't want to keep you from that.
Yeah. I got a quiz in the morning.
Do what?
I said I got a quiz in the morning.
Yeah. So we're not going to be too long. If this does go too long, we might just do a part 2 and finish it next month.
Yeah, I could honestly probably do that too.
Okay, we might do that then. Let's see. What's the next? I think we'll finish on the Tornet story. So this one and then the Tornets should be enough time.
Okay.
For centuries, the Inuit have passed down the spine-chilling narrative, weaving a tapestry of fear and caution that transcends generations. The haunting presence of the Kalapaluit continues to cast a shadow over the desolate landscapes where the icy waters conceal secrets and nightmares alike. Beware, for the myth of the Kalapaluit may just be more than a story. It could be a bone-chilling reality lurking beneath the frozen surface. To maintain their existence, they're dependent on the naive vigor of children, of course, usually hiding along the edge of the water. These animals wait for times when kids are by themselves. They attract the kids with an odd hum, and then they quickly grab them and suck them into their pouches before disappearing into the cold. Eventually, the effects of these incidents became apparent to the inhabitants of Alaska. A number of historians suggest that Kalapaluit is the Inuit version of the familiar North American figure known as the Boogeyman. Living under thin layers of ice, they take advantage of the shallowness by tapping the surface in the shallow places, enticing children with their sounds and trapping them when the ice gives way. The actions that the Kalapaluit take towards children are a matter of debate, with no proposed scenario carrying positive connotations. While many believe that the Kalapaluit is a humanoid creature with a penchant for consuming humans, they are conflicting accounts regarding its appearance and gender. Some assert that it is a feminine being, using children to maintain its long, flowing hairdo. Devoid of families of their own, certain narratives suggest an inability to bear children, compelling them to abduct human babies and raise them as their own. The story of the Kalapaluit is still a well-known one in the Inuit society. A popular picture book called The Orphan and the Kalapaluit provides the young generation with the first visual representation of the animal and its behaviors. This story is still told to prevent children from walking on thin ice or getting too close to places where the water breaks. As a symbol of generational dread and warnings, the Kalapaluit is highly significant in Inuit culture. Its evasiveness and variety of accounts it provides add to the mystery and encourage discussions about its impact on children. The animal is a metaphorical protector of hazardous areas, and tales about it serve as a means of warning children against taking unnecessary risks, such as stepping out on thin ice. These stories' ongoing popularity, particularly in popular illustrated books, underlines their significance for cultural preservation. As a result, the Kalapaluit transcends from a legendary creature to a cultural icon that upholds morals and promotes safety through scaring your pants off.
Yeah, honestly.
That's freaky. So I'm interested. They've claimed there's a lot of stuff that's almost malevolent, but a lot of it just sounds sorrowful, like absolutely depressing. Because in some occasions they call them animals, and in others they just say humanoids or beings. So, what are your thoughts on this?
I, I mean, honestly, it it looks neither to me.
It
um,
looks neither.
yeah, it looks neither to me, but it. I know that there are some creepy creatures out there too, that are
Mm,
proven. So it's always a possibility that it could be some kind of creature, but it looks humanoid based off of the anatomy based of it. But it looks, oh my goodness, yeah. I have no idea. I have no idea on this one.
I don't know. I want to say that it's um, animalistic, but I don't know. It almost just gives me like spiritual vibes, almost demonic. But at the
It
same
yeah.
time, a lot of these stories don't really say like, oh, it kills them or it like shreds them. It just says it kidnaps. Uh,
Yeah.
or I could have read something and I misunderstood it. Um, yeah, all it says is it takes kids. Uh, I don't know. It sounds animalistic, but it also sounds sorrowful. It sounds if they can't reproduce, then yeah, their only means of survival would be kidnapping. This sounds a lot like the Kushtaka, uh, just kidnapping to replenish numbers. But there were more stories about the Kushtaka actually like shredding people. But here it's just kidnapping. We don't know
So
what
so
happens after that.
something I find very, very interesting, and this may actually kind of play a part in certain things, which I completely forgot about, but there are certain standards for living creatures. If you are a living creature, you must be able to reproduce. So I'm curious if that plays a part, because obviously these cannot reproduce. So now I'm like, is this more of like a demonic based thing? And same with the Kushtaka, because there are standards for if things are living. You must be able to respond to signals. You must be able to reproduce. You must be able to gain energy. You must there are certain things that require you to be considered alive in this world, and those things are major. So now I'm like, now that I'm thinking about that, it it kind of has me wondering if it is actually demonic or spiritual or something like that.
Hmm. So it sounds like with the Kushtaka, they're able to shapeshift, is what they've said, um,
Mm-hmm.
which is not among the animal kingdom. I think that's why we did not put them under animal. But under those rules that you're talking about of living creatures, would there be an exception if all of the other rules are followed, but it's just one that's not? Or do all have to follow to be a living creature?
I'll have to follow.
Okay, interesting.
Let me
So,
look it
yeah,
up too. um
okay. So, this one, I don't think it ever talks about eating. Let's see. These animals wait for times when kids are by themselves. They attract the kids with an odd hum. circling their pouches before disappearing into the cold. Eventually, the effects of those incidents became apparent to the inhabitants of Glasgow. They never talk about eating or. Oh, wait a second. While many believe that the Calibaluit is a humanoid creature with a penchant for consuming humans, there are conflicting accounts regarding its appearance and gender. Okay, so it does eat people still.
Yeah.
But like, there's, I'm sure that that would be, if it is demonic or spiritual, I'm sure that would be a way for it to kill. Essentially, would just be eating.
Yeah, so the requirements to be considered living is something that can grow, something that can move, reproduce, respire, and carry out various cellular activities. Um, which is why, cells, for example, is something that's considered living. A lot of times people have arguments of if viruses are considered living. But I do know for a fact that yeah, reproduction is a big one too.
Yeah.
So now that has me curious in this.
So would it not be considered reproduction if they can turn something into one of them?
I I would not say. I mean, there's always possibly, I guess.
I suppose it's
That's
not really
more like
been a question asked because that's not a natural phenomenon.
it. Yeah, it's not. This is more okay. So if we're going based off of like what kind of creature this is, obviously I'm gonna have to say it's probably mammal. A mammal type of creature. If we're going into the animalistic categories, I would definitely say that it is mammal. However, mammals they don't create things. They usually have sexual reproduction. That's the primary one. Because if we're trying to convince ourselves that this is actually animalistic or something like that, or even human, humans are supposedly in the category of mammals. So it's all like the reproduction would not make sense to me.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think that either spiritual or demonic would definitely fit in this scenario. Because, like,
Mm-hmm.
alien and interdimensional, there's not been a lot of evidence leaning towards that yet. Um, no stories of them like interacting with space or coming from space or anything like that. And it just seems like dark. It seems the only
It
purpose
does.
that they have is for kidnapping.
Yeah. It seems mostly demonic to me, I would say.
Yeah, so highly aggressive.
Highly aggressive.
And I'm gonna put demonic question mark, spiritual question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Because in in the Bible, which is where a majority of my games are going to take the perspective of. Um, I'm not saying that they're all going to be Bible games, but they're taking the perspective of. So, if the world my games are made, if the world that my games are made in are based on the Bible, then that means it follows the rules of spiritual um, residents. And from what I've read and from what I've come to conclusion wise, and I actually have two biblical advisors that are like, I come to them with ideas like, all right, so this is what I read in the Bible, this is what I'm thinking. And then my biblical advisors will be like, no, that's not at all what he's talking about. So I might take this up to them. Um, if there are tales of spirits that are neither aligned with either force, with either God or Satan, or if there are spirits that are aligned but not overly allegiant. Like, my mind would not really lean towards that being a possibility, but with this thing, the Cryptid, it leans towards, I mean, fake, obviously, but if it is real, then this just sounds demonic.
Yeah.
All the stories tend to lead towards like death or the destruction of something, and if it's not demonic, then what could it be? Is kind of what my mindset is leaning towards.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Let's go ahead and move on. I think the next one is the Mahaha. Yeah. Okay. This one's. I'm very inclined to say this one is a fake story. The other ones I tend to like want to believe, but this one I'm like, okay. But it was just fun enough that I felt like I wanted to read it on the channel. So, um, if you want to, you can go for it. The Mahaha.
For the, am I starting? I'm assuming down here, actually.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the upper two, it looks like it's in native text on the top paragraph.
Yeah.
And then second paragraph looks like it's native text, but with American pronunciation. And then,
Okay.
yeah, you're gonna read the bottom one for our story.
Okay. Okay, so the Mahaha is a maniacal demon that terrorized parts of the Arctic. This creature is described as a thin, sinewy being. Sinew? Is that how you say it? Sinewy.
Sinewy. It basically means like
Sinew.
it's like too thin.
Okay. Okay.
You could also replace that word with like malnourished or
Okay.
Yeah, just words
Yeah.
like that. Sinewy just means
Yeah.
like
We.
too thin.
Okay. 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 Yeah. Malnourished is the main one for us.
Yeah.
A malnourished being. Ice blue in color and cold to the touch. The Mahaha's eyes are white and they peer through the long, stringy hair that hangs in its face. This demon is always smiling and giggling. It is strong, very strong, and it is always barefoot. Mahaha is usually seen with almost no clothing on, yet it never seems to be bothered by the cold. The cold demon takes pleasure in tickling its victims to death with sharp, vicious nails attached to its long, bony fingers. Many elders have remarked on the expression of the dead victims Mahaha leaves behind. It seems all of the victims have a similar expression on their dead faces, a twisted, frozen smile. Oh, that's not creepy at all. Although this demon is twisted and evil, Mahaha is easily fooled. Most of the stories told about Mahaha end with it being fooled. Usually, Mahaha is tricked into leaning over a water hole to take a drink and is pushed into the open water and swept away by the current. So if Mahaha ever corners you alone, ask it to have one last drink with you by the water hole before it tickles you to death.
then you
Okay.
shoot it in the back of the head.
Yeah, I would probably be someone that would do that.
I wanted to include this story because like it seems very outlandish, but just the one sentence, uh, many elders have remarked on the expression of the dead victims. That means that there was a time when elders found victims dead with a smile.
That's true. That
Plural.
is true. Ooh.
So either, you know, this is a tall tale that was just passed down from generation to generation, or there was actually something. I'm not saying it's this, I'm not saying it's Mahaha, but there were times, plural, that elders found victims with a smile on their face. And that seemed interesting to me more than anything. So,
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
Mahaha was a true story, it's 100% demonic.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Tornets. This will be the last story we go over.
Okay.
This one's really interesting. I think this is one of the
Oh, okay.
best descriptions of the wild man.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Interesting.
yeah. This is one of the few that I could actually believe was a true story. Uh, just because of the small details they put in it. And then even the description and how, like, the um, the lore of the situation has physical evidence of like statues that were made or uh, evidence of like people seeing these things. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into this on the wiki. If you want to see, I might just go ahead and read us out.
You said you're on the wiki. Oh, you're on the wiki. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna read.
Yeah.
I think I might read both. If you just want to take in
Yeah, absolutely.
all the info, we'll discuss
Yeah.
it after.
I'm already looking at things and I'm like, oh, that's something. That's something.
Yeah, yeah. So this one definitely feels more like humans turn to monsters, but I love this story because it really leans into one of the origins of Bigfoot, basically, and
Yeah. I
I
see
think
down
it's
here it says
fascinating.
the type is Bigfoot as well, so that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Okay. So I'm gonna get into it because this is an interesting story.
Okay.
According to the Anchorage Daily, stories of the Alaska Bushmen, or Tornets, have been told since the first humans crossed the Bering Land Bridge. In the beginning, the story goes, the Inuit and the Tornets lived peacefully in villages near each other and shared common hunting grounds. So this was like two different tribes of people that lived near each other, supposedly.
Right.
Um, the Tornets lived peacefully in villages near each other and shared common hunting grounds. Or sorry, the Inuit and Tornets lived peacefully. The Inuit people often built and used kayaks for hunting, while the Tornets were unable to master the building of kayaks. They were very aware of the advantages of having and using one. One story goes that a young Tornet borrowed a young Inuit's kayak without permission, and he damaged the bottom of it. The young Inuit became very angry and stabbed the Tornet in the nape of the neck while he was sleeping, killing him. The rest of the Tornets feared that they too would be killed by the Inuit and fled the country, rarely to be seen again. Since that
Hmm.
time, many stories have come out of the bush of hunters disappearing, later found dead and mangled or never seen again. Apparently, hunters and the Tornets no longer peacefully share common hunting grounds.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this gets really interesting. It really reminds me of oh, the Athenians, and I think it was the Spartans and the Athenians. Basically,
Okay.
the brains versus bronze kind of fight, and it seems like the Alaska Bushmen, the Tornets, are very physically based, very physically strong, but not too intellectual.
Yeah.
This image of the Tornet, I don't feel is accurate. I feel like this one's very dramatic.
Oh,
In order to make like a monster. So I'm gonna go ahead and read through this real quick. This is kind of the standard story of the Tornet, from what I understand.
okay.
In Inuit stories, the Tornet are indeed a race of wild people. Stories of the Alaskan Bushmen, as well as Tornets, have been told ever since the first people crossed the Bering Land Bridge, says the Anchorage Daily. From what the story says, the Inuit and Tornets used to live in villages close to each other and hunt together. The Inuit often made kayaks and used them for hunting. Even though the Tornets didn't know how to build kayaks, they knew how important it was to have and use one. There are parallels to this article as to the one that we just read, but this one had a few more details that I thought were important. So, back in the day, the Inuit weren't the only people who lived in Eskimo country. The Tornet were a big, strong group of people who lived near Cumberland Sound. They got along well with the Inuit and hunted in the same area, but lived in different villages. They were taller and had longer legs and arms than the Inuit, but their eyes weren't as good. They were so powerful that they could move big rocks too bulky for the Inuit, who were more potent than now. Several of the stones they used it to throw are still around, and even the most muscular man alive today can't pick them up, let alone swing and throw people. Some of one's stone homes are still standing. For most of the winter, they lived in these houses, which were not covered with snow to keep them warm. The most important part of one's winter clothes was long. Broad coat made of deerskin that went down to the knees and had leather straps around the edges. They did eat walrus, deer, and seal. When they went seal hunting in the winter, they used pegs to hold the bottom of their coats to the snow. Under the skin, they carried a tiny lamp they used to melt winter weather when they became thirsty and to cook a portion of the seal meat. They seated around an opening in the ice and waited for their prey. Whenever a seal blew into the hole, they whispered, "I'll stab it," in their haste. They sometimes forgot about the lamp and knocked it over as they decided to throw the harpoon, and this caused them to get burned occasionally. Their strength was so great they could hold a caught and killed whale as quickly as an Inuit might have a seal. These weaker men didn't like to play hardball with them because they didn't realize how rough those were and often hurt their playmates badly. So, the Tornet and Inuit would hang out, but the Tornet were so strong, they would accidentally hurt the Inuit trying to play with them.
Oh my goodness.
This was something that the playfellows attempted to take in stride, and the two got along well, except for each thing. Except for those previously mentioned things. Even though those who saw how helpful kayaks were for hunting animals whenever the ice decided to break up in the spring, the Tornet didn't make any for themselves. They would thieve a boat from the Inuit every once in a while, and the Inuit didn't fight back because the robbers were so muscular. This made the Inuit angry. They would speak among themselves and say they would get back at the thieves. One day, a young Tornet took a young Inuit's boat without asking, and when he was trying to deal with it, he did run it into some floating ice blocks that broke the bottom. The owner kept his anger in check until night, when the robber was asleep, and he could sneak into the shelter and stab the Tornet. The Tornet tribe knew the Inuit were getting angrier and angrier with them. After one of the Inuit finally got back at them, they feared that others might do the same thing in secret. so they chose to leave the country. To trick their neighborhood, they cut off the tails of one's long coats and tied their tresses in bunches that stuck out behind them. This made them look like weird people as they ran away. Then they ran away, and the Inuit were so glad to see them go, they didn't even try to catch them. So,
Mm.
the story of the Tornit is really interesting because there's so much detail in these stories that it's like these sound like personal accounts of some tribes, of the Inuit tribes talking about it, and it's insanely detailed. I I kind of lean towards the idea of the Nephilim, how they created giant
You
men.
know what? I was just thinking that. I literally was
Mhm.
just thinking that.
They had
Yeah,
created
I
giant
could
men,
so see that.
and whereas this is where I want to talk to my biblical advisors a lot. I know that the giants were the descendants of the Nephilim, and we know that the Nephilim were inherently evil. Um, I really want to know if the giants were inherently evil because they were the offspring of the Nephilim, but they intermarried with humans. And so I
Hmm.
really wonder if giants were just another, like a sub race of humans, or if they were their own race and they are inherently evil because they are the offspring of Nephilim. I, because there's so many stories around the world about giants, but not all of them
Hmm.
are evil. Now, most of them are, but not every story is talking about the giants being evil. But every culture has stories of giants. And so
Yeah,
I really want to ask my biblical advisors about that later. What
yeah,
are you thinking
that
right
would be a
now?
good topic.
Mhm.
What am I thinking right now? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we just read a lot right here, so I'm wondering if you've got any ideas.
No, I could definitely agree with you on all of that, like the different giant and possibly subspecies or anything like that. I do find it interesting over there that they didn't have like the capacity to actually build though. Like
Yeah.
their learning situation is so I believe that there's something like mentally just blocking that. Like there's certain learnings that they can't pick up on. So I'm wondering why that is because if they are more like humans, um, humans highly work with a lot like monkey see, monkey do kind of situation. Like so
Mm.
if they ever watch the Inuit build, um, why couldn't they still build it? And so that is something that I find pretty interesting is just like the cognitive part of it is because that was basically blocked. A lot of animals, and I'm not just talking about humans and stuff like that, a lot of animals itself will learn. It's a learning behavior of them. And animal behavior, we talked about different types of learning behaviors. Well, one of the main ones that they do is just observation learning. And so
Yeah.
um I'm very curious as to why they couldn't get that. Obviously, there's just something because I mean they have the hands for it, they have the physique to do that kind of stuff. So there's got to be something mentally there, I think.
Yeah. Or I also am wondering, like, trade is also very common amongst humans, especially different tribes. So
Hmm.
why didn't they ever trade for,
Yeah.
like, ask them to make a big kayak or
Right.
stuff like that? They they seem very, like you're saying, dull, um, mentally
Yeah.
blocked somehow. Because, like, even in the story of them trying to hunt, how they literally say when they're about to attack, and that they'll knock over their lamps and accidentally burn themselves. Um, that was interesting because it's very detailed statement, which means it sounds like somebody has
Mm-hmm.
seen this, and it's detailed because it gives a lot of insight of like they sound like a very dull race.
Yeah, it sounds
Not the
almost
Inuit, the
like
Torment.
right, right. It sounds almost like caveman behavior.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. The one thing that really caught my eye was that in the paragraph where it talked about back in the day, um,
Mm-hmm.
said they were so powerful that they could move big rocks too bulky for the Inuit, who were more potent than now. Several of the stones they used to throw are still around.
That's what I
And
found interesting too.
yeah, and even the most muscular men alive today can't pick them up, let alone swing and throw. Um, some of once stone homes are still standing, too. This person who wrote this kind of did paragraphs weird because it's like
Yeah,
they keep saying ones instead of tornit, and it's like
I
some
know.
of Tornit's stone homes are still standing too. But like
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really hoping that this is a real account and I'm not just reading somebody who's like creating a storyline or a blog about what they think.
Yeah,
It's
because
from the website.
what it's saying. Sorry, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say it's come from the website Trident Myth, and from what I've read, Trident Myth tries to make a compendium of like different cultures' mythologies. So I'm hoping that they're telling
Okay.
the truth and not just telling stories.
Yeah, because it sounds like to them, like, I mean, saying that, several of the stones they used to throw are still around, and also saying that, one stone or stone homes are still standing. That's basically saying, like, I have evidence.
Yeah,
Um,
or at
and
least
that's a
this
pretty big
tribe is
thing
what
to
this is
say.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know if you can
there.
hear the train in my background. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. I can't hear it. The wiki does have another segment here called explanation. Um, According to cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman, the Tornit are in fact, this is Lauren Coleman's statement, are in fact Sasquatch's Bigfoots. He says
Mm,
the white man's names are Sasquatch, invented in 1929 in Canada, and Bigfoot, first used in California in 1958, which we will talk about
okay.
that once we get to California. Um, the
Absolutely.
name,
Yeah.
yeah, the name True Giants was coined by Mark A. Hall only a few decades ago. Most First Nations groups, Canadian Natives, American Natives, Inupiat, Yupik, and Inuits, excuse me, have their own names. Inuit people, Inupiat, Inuvialuit. Well, that's a lot of names right there. Viewers, you can read those. Um, have been known to call these creatures Tornit, but also Turnit, Samenkar, and Samenkar. These creatures could also be a species of an American primate, most likely a great ape or a surviving population of Neanderthals, which that's what you were kind of leaning towards of cavemen.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. If it's Sasquatch based, I could see it being more animalistic then, because Sasquatch to me seems mostly animalistic. Only reason I say that is because um I feel like they're more gorilla based, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But I haven't done enough research for that. So as of right now, my mentality is more animalistic based.
Okay, that's fair. What I'm thinking we'll do in the future is every now and then we'll take a break from building the codex and just do like a special episode. So maybe we'll do a whole episode over the Tornets, or a whole episode over the Bigfoot, or you know, some of the more legendary or more um, fact-backed creatures. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
so I tend to believe that Bigfoot leans towards animalistic, but I feel like they have a spiritual origin. Um,
Oh,
a lot of
interesting.
stories I've heard have talked about like gentle Bigfoots, gentle giants, but almost having
Mhm.
an understanding of what people are saying. Um, a lot of Native American tribes have a lot of stories about like Bigfoot is sacred, but if you make him angry, he can become close to demonic with how like aggressive he can be. And so I think it'd be really interesting in the future when we get into stories about Bigfoot. But for now, this one definitely has human-based stories. And now I'm wondering if the Tornet are just giants who turned to Native American tribe, who turned into an animalistic people group.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of different possibilities, I would say.
Yeah. So with this, do you think this thing would align with spiritual, possible animal, or lost man?
Oh, based
I
off
don't
of
think
what it
spiritual.
said, what'd you say? I'm sorry.
I was saying I don't think spiritual. I was kind of
I
I kind of tossed that one in because I was still thinking about Bigfoot, but I'm not
Yeah,
feeling spiritual here.
I'm not feeling spiritual on it. I'm really going back and forth with Lost Man and animalistic, but yeah, it because only based off of like it being somewhat of a Sasquatch base. That's the only reason why I'm kind of struggling with it. But I mean, obviously they had a lot of communication with um with humans, and so I would say based off of like this story, possibly Lost Man. But there's a lot that you can go off of on it.
Yeah, I almost want to theorize um, the idea of, was this thing always Bigfoot, and the Inuit just mistook them for humans, for humans, and
Oh,
because
okay.
of how social Bigfoot can be, maybe because they were met with such open arms and playfulness, that maybe they were kind of doing like you said, monkey see, monkey do, because
Mhm.
they clearly hunted and they, were able to communicate, but it sounds like they weren't very thought provoking, almost copying, but on basic terms.
Yeah.
So I almost
Yeah, I
wonder
could
if this
agree.
was more so a civilized Bigfoot rather than a wild tribal man.
Yeah, I could honestly see that a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we could definitely make this a whole episode talking about the torment.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, there's a
So,
lot that you can go off of on this. So
oh yeah. For now,
there's
I'm
a
gonna
lot of
put
material.
possible possible animal question mark and lost man question mark.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
And then I'm gonna talk to my biblical advisors about like giant genealogy and their storyline, because this is not going to be the last time we talk about giants. The Shawnee tribe of Oklahoma have talked about seeing giants, about killing a giant called Yellowhair. The Persians have stories about giants, and yeah, there's a lot of stories about it. And then to match that, there's this guy who put together a compendium of newspaper articles that say giant bones found.
Oh, I think I heard about that.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely talk about him in the future,
Yeah.
but for now, I'm kind of just leaning with just continuing with basic info on the Codex, and then when we feel like it, we'll take a break. Maybe like every 5 states, we'll take a break and just talk about one creature or something.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds
So
like a plan.
I think we're leading into wrapping it up. This went a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but I found a lot more info with Alaska, and I feel like with you here, we're able to talk about it more. It was
Hmm. Yeah.
it was really good. I really enjoyed this. All right, so
Yeah.
with that said, um, guys, I really appreciate you all for watching the stream. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more of this. And don't forget to share if you think you know somebody else who's interested. I'm also about to start my series on programming tutorials. I guys, I can't promise you're gonna learn much from me. Um, I'm more so doing it for me to teach because I tend to learn really a lot. I tend to learn a lot if I can teach. And so if I take time out of my schedule to try to teach this, I might be able to actually learn it better because this is, to be honest with you guys here, this is my third time taking this one programming class because it's just not clicking for me. So be praying for me that I get an understanding of this class, and also just keep us in your prayers because Perky Panda, her job's being really tough right now. So prayer for her strength and everything. Um, I'm also going to pray, ask for one more prayer request for my brother Aaron, the one who does Fireside videos. He helps a lot with Samaritan's Purse, which is a disaster relief program. And so he will go with Samaritan's Purse and record a lot of the stuff to get word around and to get help to the people quickly. So keep him in your prayers as he's traveling and going to these dangerous areas. Um, I think that's about it for me. Rakuah, do you have a prayer request?
For me, I just pray that I graduate.
Yeah.
I am taking 20 hours this semester, and it is mentally and physically challenging for me. And this upcoming week, it's the third week of class, or the fourth week of class going into this one, and I already have like 5 exams in one week, 2 quizzes, and a whole bunch of homework. So,
Yeah.
prayers for just this week that I get through it. And but I mean, like there are some praises. I
Okay.
have found wonderful friends here, and I adore them, and they have helped me tremendously. So praises, but also some prayer requests and trying to survive. And then also
Heck
my
yeah.
family is trying to move, so a lot of
Okay.
moving pieces happening and a lot of things going on. So yeah,
Oh, cool. All right. Guys, I really appreciate you for watching. Um, I hope you're enjoying the series as much as we are. Rakuah, thank you for being my co-host. I think this is a lot of fun, and you're adding a lot of quality to these shows. So I appreciate you.
yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you inviting me. Honestly, like this is really cool. It's really fun, and it gets my mind working and remembers what I learned. So it's nice.
Nice. All right, guys, appreciate you. Love y'all. Praying for you guys. I'm gonna leave the stream going for about 5 more minutes. If you guys have any prayer requests, put them in the chat. It doesn't have to be specific. You can even just say silent prayer, and I'll be praying for you. So appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good night.